Hi, I'm Kenya and welcome to my YouTube channel.
So this is just a quick disclaimer. As I was editing this video, I realized all the commotion and noise in the background. The church bells were ringing for eternity. My neighbors were arguing. The train was going by. Just all the things. Please, I'm sorry.
So I've been getting into reading books again and I want to talk about them, alright? So today's book would be All Her Little Secrets, written by Wanda and Morris. If you're into like thriller, crime, I feel like this would be a great read for you. The way that it was written, it flowed very easily. It was very easy to read. This book pulled me in within the first chapter, and I'm somebody with a short attention span, so it's hard to like pull me in. And I was sat, okay? I was sat, I was locked in, and I was reading, all right? So I feel like if you're looking for something that's a good read, a fast read, grab this one. This would be great. Also, if you're interested in a book that is like more mature, if like the characters were 40 plus, and you're looking for something with a strong black female lead character, you know, a little scandal, all that good stuff. This one right here, and I wonder if this author was inspired by the TV series How to Get Away with Murder, only because the main character's name is Elise Littlejohn and she is a lawyer, and this book was written in 2021, I believe. Okay, so let's get into it. So if you have not read this book, there will be some spoilers because we are going to be, well, I'm going to be getting into it. Okay, so we have our notes here, and I just want to say there was a lot of black trauma in this book, lots of it. One of the main themes in this book was a rags to riches story. So in the book there were several flashbacks into Elise Littlejohn's childhood and how she came from this poor town called Chillicothe, Georgia. I believe I'm saying it right, Chillicothe. I think that's how you say it. In the book there was several like flashbacks to Elise's childhood and how she grew up in a small town that was really poor. Then she got the opportunity to go to an elite private school. It was a boarding school, and then that afforded her the opportunity to get into a good college and then law school, and now she's living like this lavish life in a condo in Atlanta, Georgia. And they talk about, you know, how her wardrobe is basically sickening, all the good stuff. She's living lavish and very differently from how she grew up. So this was definitely rags to riches. The next thing would be making it out the hood and leaving family members behind. And so we know how that goes, especially in the black community, that one person who makes it out and you just have to leave your people behind. It's not something that you want to do, but it's something that's necessary for you and your personal growth. And for Elise, she had to leave her brother Sam behind and her mother Margaret behind. Margaret, her mother, was described as like this raging alcoholic. She didn't really have much going on. She just sat around drinking and fussing, mainly with Elise all the time. So she definitely left her mother behind, and when she left her people behind, like she left them behind, like mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. And so now that she's an adult and she's navigating in the world of being this lawyer, she's meeting all these people and, you know, a higher economic background. One of her friends, Grace, is like the wife of a NBA ball player, I believe, and she's never mentioning that she has a brother, Sam. She's never really talking about her childhood. In her office, her secretary is constantly asking her, why don't you have any photos of like family? Why don't you make the office yours? Like, where is the personality? Like, where are the photos? And one reason why she never had pictures of her family in her office is because she literally mentally left them behind. Okay. So another thing would be running away from an old life without healing from trauma and bringing the trauma with you. So in the story, Elise, she basically moved on to Atlanta, Georgia, leaving her old life in Chillicothe, Georgia behind. And also her mother, Margaret, she also ran away from a smaller town in Georgia, I believe. It ended up in Chillicothe, I believe, Georgia. So her mother also fled and ended up in Chillicothe because she was running from something. And then she met a mother figure in Chillicothe, Georgia. Her name is Vera. Vera also ran away from a town in Louisiana up to Chillicothe, Georgia from something. So these are three women, the three women in the story who basically have run from something to another place. I feel like we are all guilty of running from something or things you omit by omission. She probably never said that she didn't have a brother, she just never brought him up. Also, black women being saviors, black women fixing everything all the time when things go wrong is another theme. Now, when Elise was a smaller, like a teenager, and she was sexually assaulted by her mother's husband and became pregnant, her mother was, you know, acting like she didn't know what was going on, and she did. And Vera, who became her mother figure in the neighborhood, was able to help her get an abortion, and they basically killed that man, okay? Vera came up with a plan to kill that man because guess what? She had to save Elise. She had to be the woman to help resolve a situation. It's always a black woman, you know, and I feel like we see that every day when there is police brutality in the black community. There are always black women who are protesting. They're the ones on the front line. They're the ones who are speaking up all the time. It's like we're the ones who get things done. And I had a friend, I want to say recently, he was talking about how, you know, he's a hiring manager, and he was like, black women always are requesting, you know, large salaries. In his mind, black women have the nerve to request the salaries that they request. And I'm just like, people don't understand that black women carry so much. Oftentimes we are single moms, we have to take care of all of our children on our own. You know, if we're the one in the family who actually went to college and actually got that good paying job, every time somebody in the family is in a conundrum or in some type of a situation, they call you. Oh, call Kenya, she has it, she can help you out. And it's like when you're trying to tell your family members, like, I don't have it, like, no, because you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor, then all of a sudden you uppity, you stuck up, you think you the junk now because you got that good paying job. I don't care if you work at the post office, folks will be like, you think you the joint because you got that good government paying job, you know. And I feel like that's what was happening in this story as well. Her brother was constantly asking her for money, and then, you know, she's like, no, like, get your own stuff together. And he was acting like, you know, I can't believe you won't help me, like, you know, basically guilt tripping her into helping him, which she ended up feeling bad and wanting to help him. Another thing was being black in corporate America. Being black in corporate America, or all the trials and tribulations that she faced, all the hard work that she put in, and how she was overlooked, how her company was discriminating against black people, especially, and other groups of people of color. They were protesting outside of her job every day because of discrimination. And even though you have went to the top colleges and you actually went to law school, you passed the bar, it's like people are still looking at you like, you know, you lucky to even be here, girl. Another thing was the absence of black male father figures. So in the book, I believe Margaret, which was Elise's mother, her father was not in the picture in her life. And then Elise didn't have a father figure, neither did Sam. The only man that was in their life was the man that her mother Margaret married, who was actually a white man. And he was basically like white trash, bottom of the barrel, you know what I'm saying, like not even a quality type of a white man. I feel like the black community is plagued with a lack of positive black male father figures, positive male black men in the community to uplift the community. That's just been something that's been ongoing in the black community for years, and it's really sad. And I do spend a lot of time on TikTok, and you know, the presidential campaign is coming up. You know, Kamala Harris is running for president, and one thing that black men advocated for, that they wanted, was child support reform. Child support reform. Now that would be a whole other video, because I have so many opinions on what I think about child support reform and how devastating and how that would literally just set our community back so much further if men were able to just have kids all over the place and never look back again. Like, you think the community is in shambles now? And Donald Trump is also trying to do away with the Department of Education. Now, when I was finishing up my bachelor's degree, I worked in a elementary school, kindergarten, and first grade. There are so many parents that don't teach their kids anything. They don't teach them basic manners. They don't teach them their ABCs. They don't teach them how to spell their names. Basic things before they even get to school. If we do away with the Department of Education, do you know how far this society, how far the U.S., this nation would fall? It would be in shambles, okay? I'm guessing that's what the elites need to be able to rule more effectively, because obviously during slavery, when slaves were not allowed to read and write and certain things, they were at a disadvantage. And this is how the slave master was able to, you know, do what he did for the most part. But I went off on a tangent, but that's a whole other topic, whole other video, okay? Also, another thing would be black women's proximity to whiteness. Because black women are the most educated demographic in the country, and therefore we would have more access to white spaces. I'm someone who could speak from my own lived experiences. I would always be the only black person in a room for a lot of the times. A lot of the times I would work places and I'm the only black person. I would go to events, I'm the only black person. And because of this, I learned how to navigate in those type of spaces. And because my proximity was closer to whiteness, I was able to get a lot of opportunities, I would say. I feel like there's a certain type, a certain genre of black woman who gets into those spaces. And because her proximity was closer to whiteness, she basically was having an affair with one of the men at the law firm. The situation got a little hot. They got let go. He went to another law firm and he was able to advocate and bring her in. And so because of her proximity to whiteness, she was able to get in and, you know, secure a pretty, you know, good position for herself. Her proximity to whiteness was not conventional, you know, but she was able to get in. The thing was being a highly educated black woman and single. We are more educated than our male counterparts, and because we are, it is really hard to find quality black men that are mentally on our level, if you get what I'm saying. So it's really hard to date. So a lot of the times black women end up having all these things going for ourselves when we are single, or we either date outside of our races with other men who are equally as educated and equally mentally on our level. A lot of the times you will see a lot of black women with so much going for themselves that are single. This book also goes into systemic racism. As I stated earlier, there were protesters outside of her company that was protesting because the company was discriminating against hiring black people. Also, there were quite a few white men at her organization who were a part of this white supremacist group where they wanted to eradicate all black people and basically take over. And according to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, systemic racism is the oppression of a racial group to the advantage of another as perpetuated by inequity within interconnected systems such as political, economic, and social systems. Okay, so there was a lot of systemic racism at her company, mostly going on, where they went back and found a dossier, which is basically a ledger or things all about her, Elise Littlejohn, herself, her mother, just the whole case of how her stepfather went missing, and they were like trying to blackmail her and basically throw her under the bus at her company, to the point where she just eventually resigned. And another theme, this is the last thing, would be white collar crimes. White collar crimes go on every single day. White collar crimes are the most like severe in my opinion. However, the attention is always placed on like low-level dope dealers and robberies, just over policing black and brown communities. However, white collar crimes affect people much harder. At her company, basically the founder of the company had dementia. He was not abreast, he was not capable of you know, really looking into and keeping up with the company's affairs, and they were laundering money illegally through the company, through different countries, weapons, all types of stuff. Like, it was crazy. And when you think of when I think of white collar crimes, I always think about Bernie Madoff and how he made away with all those people's retirement funds, like left people messed up, literally fucked, if you get what I'm saying. And it was to the point where I believe he committed suicide, and his son, who couldn't believe that his dad was up to that, doing what he was doing, committed suicide. I feel like white collar crimes are the ultimate crimes. Like, those are just... So in the book, like, her company was trying to set her up. She was the only black woman, and they put her in a high position, and that was only to set her up to take the fall for what her co-workers and her colleagues were doing in the dark. All that came to the light. But the book is titled All Her Secrets. In my opinion, her secrets weren't that deep for me, because I just feel like a lot of these were common things that occur in the black community nonetheless. But that is my review. I feel like I said everything I needed to say. So if you have read this book and you have your 2 cents, 5 cents, or 10 cents to add in the comments, please do so, and we will discuss respectively. And I do have another book that I am working on right at the moment, and we'll get to that book next, okay? But in the meantime, and if you have made it to this part of the video, the end of the video, I want to thank you for coming to kick it with me today, and I will see you in my next video. Toodles.